Loki want to talk about, like, bouncing for competitive video games, the 1%
Dog, you're trying to get us flamed.
versus
You really are.
versus the 99. That's what
You,
I kind of want to talk about. I'm not gonna lie.
you know our asses are 1% Andes here. You know
Okay.
we are.
Okay. Offer it. For whoever's watching this video, just for context, and like obviously we are biased, right? So
Very.
I sound like such a fucking nerd. I I am. I didn't want to say it, bro. Honestly, man.
We're in the. I'll say it without embarrassing yourself. We're in the top 1% of league players, according to the ladder, is what he's trying to say here. So we're biased towards that viewpoint.
I'm a Grandmaster player. Jeremy is a Masters player, so we are we're in the top 1%. But this is not a league video.
No.
We're gonna obviously we'll draw points from our experience as league players, but
Yeah.
we
It's just familiarity.
yeah, pretty much. We're not. This is not a league video.
That being said,
Yeah.
I do think balance around the 1% is the health. If you had to go strictly one or the other, I would sooner say balance around the 1%. Yeah, I think it's healthier to promote growth and competitiveness within the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know the best strategies, of course. That's kind of the whole reason they're up there.
True.
But in a perfect world, you're doing both.
Yeah.
Realistically,
I guess. But
you're balancing like based on if something is toxic for the game, you're getting rid of it. But if it's like just a strong strategy, you usually don't want to gut it unless it's taking over the meta. You know what I mean?
But it's like, it's also for the thing, like, if you're picking between one or the other, say something is really strong in, like, lower bracket of play, and something it's really weak in, like, stronger, or, like, higher bracket of play. That means that, like, you're just leaving it to run wild in the lower elos, where most people will have to suffer and, not see anything change because, of, the 1% think it's bad, or it's bad up there because of X, Y, Z, you know what I mean? So...
This is like the Master Yi case, right? Okay, not right now, because Master Yi's actually kind of good, but formerly this was a Master Yi case, when Yi was so terrible in higher elo, because everyone just drafts CC.
You're trying to get into a league video.
I'm just bringing up an example, bro. Like, this is the prime example of it.
Here, another example from a different game, for example, is like, Apex Legends. I'm familiar with that game a lot. I watched the pro scene for it. I'm not amazing at it. I'm like directly in the middle, but just to give some context. But I, at least as far as I know, something in that has like a higher pick rate in like higher elos is like Catalyst at the time of the recording. Well, the new season just dropped, but whatever. But Catalyst, because she, they can utilize her wall pretty well, the spikes, etc. Even like Watson sometimes, but in lower ranked play, they play like the fast, flashy characters because they're fun to move around and stuff like that.
Octane, that's me.
But so it's like saying, Octane is like, really broken down in the lower ranks, but not as much in the higher ranks. So we're just gonna leave him if we just balance solely around the 1%. And that, like, sucks for a majority of players. That sucks the enjoyment out of your game, which is, like, the downside of it, pretty much.
Yeah. Like in that situation, it's kind of hard to justify leaving it alone. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you could tweak it a little bit. If it's not getting presence in the higher play anyway, what's the big ideal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the example of Catalyst, like, you shouldn't buff Catalyst because they don't use her in low elo. Like, that would be ridiculous.
Not at all.
It's going to make that character broken as hell.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's just a matter of utilization and knowledge of a kit, right?
And it becomes like even more of a problem if you try to even touch it for, buffing it in terms of for the 1%.
It will be picked every single squad, right? Like just like Gibby was for a while.
Yeah, at least in pro play, yeah. But in ranked, there's different. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get you. Also so that's like the argument for the 99%, and just so we're clear as well, I guess even more like clear or whatever. Played a little bit of devil's advocate here, for like the 99%, but it does like suck for people when say they have like a favorite character, right, and that character is popular in pro play or like higher tier, but they're like a lower tier player, and so their character gets gutted or neutered or whatever because of higher play. It sucks. Right. It honestly sucks. Like, really and truly. And that's unfortunately something that, the majority of the player base would have to deal with that play that character.
Yes, but
so
assuming they played this character, they love this character, they become a one trick of it.
mm.
If they get better at the character and are growing in the game, they're gonna realize how strong it is, and the nerf shouldn't impact them that much, regardless.
But the nerf, I feel like that's wrong though, because if the nerf's gonna affect the higher tier players, why would it not affect the lower tier? It probably affects them on a lesser scale, depending on the change. It depends.
The argument
right?
is like the comparison of skill level around them, right? The most casual player base isn't gonna have every nuance min-maxed out, right? Like yes, it will impact them, but it will not impact them to nearly the same effect, and it's much easier to overcome the nerfs in that sort of environment rather than, say, if you're at the top of the ladder trying to play a now suboptimal champion.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I guess it depends on the change, I guess.
Like it does.
Because I feel like what you're saying applies to most balance changes. Like, most of the time, they're not going to completely gut or change a part of a character's kit. They're going to try and make it work, right? But in that case, even though they might be weaker, it wouldn't matter as much to a lower ranked player. But if a part of a character's kit is so toxic or like not good for the game that they have to completely remove it or completely rework it, then
justifiable.
It is justifiable, don't get me wrong, but the lower ranked person is in a way suffering because it was such a problem in higher tiers of play, where if they were only balanced around the majority of the player base, which is, a lot of people, it's 99%, then
that's a fair argument.
It probably would not have been such a problem. And the higher elo people that are the 1% just have to deal with it.
Yes, and there are ways you can not nerf a character but still keep them out of high play, I guess, and that's like the ban function, but it sucks to have to use a ban on it.
Depends on the game.
Yeah, it depends on the game. Like Apex, you obviously don't have that, but most like MOBAs, you have that.
Overwatch,
I don't know,
stuff like that. Yeah.
A very common thing I think of about this is Heroes of the Storm, dead game, rest in peace. But Nova was extremely problematic in lower elos because she can stealth permanently around the map and then just one shot someone, right? But in higher elo, it has like in most games like the Predator movies, that little outline over the environment.
Yeah.
Most higher elo players will always see that instantly. It's on the screen, but lower elo players were not, so it's not as problematic up there. But they gutted Nova because of it. And that made her really unplayable in higher elo.
So that's kind of like an opposite.
The inverse. Yes. Which is why this is such a slippery slope argument that will always be talked about, no matter where you look, no matter what game you're looking at. It's impossible to perfectly balance. Truly, it is.
I'm pretty sure I could literally type in like. Hold on, let's see.
I'd wager you can too. But I guess the point I'm trying to say is, in a perfect world, you have a little bit of both. Based off of the health of the game, like you were saying earlier, if a character is unhealthy at the higher tiers or even at the lower tiers, it needs to be changed, even if it's gonna upset players. Like, I'm making a League video again. Old Aatrox, I loved that guy, but he was so unhealthy. He was beyond unhealthy for the game.
They were changing it for different reasons, to be fair. But...
Yes, but that's why they didn't bring him. Like, listen to the players that they wanted to keep him back, right? Because they wanted Aatrox to stay how he was, but he was beyond unhealthy as a drain tank, and that kind of mechanic is just unacceptable. Like Vladimir is the same boat, unacceptable mechanic, but they're not changing him, and he's a problem whenever items get changed.
I'm looking here and like, I just looked up like balance around pro play instead of casual players Reddit, and there's just countless like R6 Pro League, obviously League of Legends. There's a few League of Legends.
R6 is a big one.
True Gaming, I guess that's just like a gaming subreddit. Competitive Apex, or R6 again, AoE4, Overwatch, more True Gaming, another Overwatch.
No, I gotta say,
League.
One game that did it perfectly,
what?
In my opinion at least, Counter-Strike. Because every character's the same, everyone gets the same access to the same guns, almost entirely.
I mean, that's not... Okay, that's like... It's not a character game, though.
Okay, but it's a competitive game. That was the discussion, right?
Yeah, but I feel like this... Okay, yeah, okay. I guess it applies. It definitely applies, but like I feel like that would apply to like guns rather than characters. And I don't know, to be honest. I'm inexperienced with Counter-Strike, so I don't know the history behind if like the AK was nerfed because higher tier players were abusing it or whatever, stuff like that. Like
I don't know offhand. Missing Mark right now,
yeah,
but
true. Missing Moose, bro. Shut up.
Missing Moose.
Shout out our buddy Mark.
But
he's not dead. He's not dead. Just
no, he's dead.
Okay, whatever. I just realized the way it sounded, but whatever.
No.
Whatever.
But anyways, I think the point I was trying to say is there is a way to balance a game as long as characters are specifically harder to balance than like giving everyone the same inventory of items.
Okay.
Granted, there are a couple exceptions, like you can get an AK on T side, but you can get an M4 on CT side. They're not exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Little nuances, but that game was much easier to balance because it didn't have the mechanic skill gaps. It just has everyone can do the same thing with the same stuff.
So then, are you
know how to do it?
Are you trying to like say like more games should take that approach, or like?
No, not inherently. I think games should be more cognizant when designing them, to be aware that hey, competitive is going to be way different than the casual, and whether that's they separate game modes and like balance patches per game modes, or which I think is an intriguing idea. If your normal play was balanced a different way than your ranked play. Yes.
I honestly like that like line of thinking personally, because it's like if you're watching and another thing why at least in my opinion why you should balance for the 1% instead of the 99 is because the 1% is like your showcase. It's like your trophy.
Yeah.
It's like for a game. So whenever anyone looks up like League of Legends, R6, Apex, Overwatch,
They're
right?
gonna see LCS.
They're gonna see LCS, ALGS,
whatever,
Overwatch League, whatever. They're going to see pro play, and they're going to see like the highest rated players taking their characters to their absolute limits and like pushing boundaries and stuff like that. And seeing that is a beautiful thing, it really is.
It is.
So, bouncing around pro play and showing like what characters can do what things, and like if something's too far, etc. Like it's the thing that people are going to watch. And that their eyes are on. So if something looks off in that department, they maybe are not going to be motivated to play the game, or like something of that sort, right? But I lost my original point.
The point is they're poster boys, so you want to make sure they look good.
No, it was before that. I can't even remember, to be honest with you. Fuck, I can't remember. What was it? Man, I had such a good point, bro. It was gonna all come together. In the sauce. It was all gonna come together, bro. What was before the? What I just said?
Bro, I don't know. I cannot go inside your head and dig this out.
But
all right,
whatever.
I guess I will. FF indeed, bro. FF indeed. I mean, I agree with you that balance to the 1% is almost always better for the game. I think it will promote.
I remembered.
Better.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying like, the balance patches. So, I think being able to see a game in pro play, and like they're on the same like patch and players and all that, and be able to hop into the game on like and play the game yourself and play the same game that the pros are playing is important, in my opinion. I think, and that's why I don't think that they should separate balance for like a normal game mode compared to like ranked or like a whole different server for like pros and like casual players. I don't think that should happen.
Well, I guess the way I was thinking of it was you don't just totally get rid of like a casual way to play in the same environment as the pros. I was thinking like, obviously it's not as easy said as done. I'm just some fucking guy sitting at home in his chair, right? But if you had a mode that was like almost like an anything goes in Pokemon competitive versus the OU ladder, which is still the same thing people compete in, and you just play on lower skill ratings and fight your way up, kind of deal. I think that would be a better way to do it, like any ability.
But then you're splitting the player base. You're splitting it with.
So what? You want people on the game.
Wait, what?
You're appealing to a broader audience, people who want to compete and play like competitors, people who just want to fuck around and have a good time, right?
I mean, but that's the difference between normal and ranked mode, though.
Yes, but it's like having Earth, right? It's like a rotating game mode kind of idea. You're having people want to have more for fun. People want to play seriously without the stakes. Like you're splitting up people's interests based off that.
I mean,
how many times do you play normal games in a game and just absolutely roll people over because it's not even slightly competitive? They're not even trying. They're playing some dumbass shit.
I mean, like often, I guess when I play, I don't really play normal
Right,
anymore.
like
But...
no, we don't. But the point is that it feels bad for the people getting stomped because they just want to have fun, but it feels bad for us too because we're just trying to have a competitive game.
Well, if I'm going into the casual game mode, I'm not trying to have a competitive game.
No,
I'm trying to chill. Yeah, no. Why would I? Why would
okay.
Why would I do that?
I mean, I guess when I say competitive, I mean I want it to at least be like it's not entertaining if something's just like rolling over, right? That's how I look at it.
I mean, that's like your, I guess, like
Yeah,
point of
that is
view,
my
and
opinion,
I
I
agree. Don't get me wrong, but some people find fun in like other things, like how much move speed they can get, or like
yeah,
how fast they can run, like how whatever, right? People have fun in different video games in like different ways, so
yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
That's what the normal game mode is for, and ranked
Mess
is
around.
for competing and like trying to be the best you can be, etc., etc.
Right.
So that's like what that's for. But in terms of like rotating game modes and having like like Overwatch has like different game modes. I
Yeah,
know
right.
League does,
the arcade.
obviously. Apex does, arcade, stuff like that. It's like I think those are. I mean, I guess Overwatch has both, where they always have stuff like that because they have the workshop.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, I guess for League, it's like I appreciate that they're a limited time, in a way.
Okay.
Solely because like it's nice to take a break. I guess at least for as talking from like the perspective of like a 1%er, it's nice to take a break and play not entirely, but a different kind of game in the same game. Makes sense.
The only exception to that is they should never have gotten rid of arenas. However,
I mean, they're working on
that's
it.
a whole side argument.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else? You have anything else?
We can sit here and argue in circles. I was about to come to the same conclusion. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely say balance to the 1% heavier than the 99%.
Agree.
But
at the end of the day, it's like it's something
it's so
that
subjective.
you have to. It's something that you have to strike in the middle, kind of.
A perfect balance.
You can't do one or the other. I think if you do one or the other, you're gonna fall too far off the horse either way.
Absolutely.
So, but
You'll either kill your new growth for players, or you'll make the competitive scene not worthwhile.
Exactly. And if the competitive scene dies, the game's pretty much dead.
Game dies. Yeah.
So, unless it's like
you're selling a ton of skins.
or it's like a not marketed that way. Like I don't know. I guess this is for competitive video games, so whatever. But anyways, check out our other stuff if you want to. Sub if you want to. No, check out our other stuff.
And like and subscribe, all right? Give us a comment if you agree or disagree. You know how this goes, all right?
We talk about it, honestly, like because that's why we like these videos. That's why we make these videos.
Absolutely.
So we're going to make more of these types of videos where we want to hear other people's opinions, and like if it's a good point or you have a really good point, or whatever, etc. Right? You point out something really cool, we'll pin your comment. We'll like it, stuff like that. So yeah, funny comments. We love those too. But yeah,
real.
Anyways, this has been Discorded TV. Davan, Jeremy.
We'll catch you next time.
Peace.